Startup Unscripted. The questions you have with the truths you need to hear.
And now your host, Michael Dencio.
What up, guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode of Startup Unscripted. This is Mike Dencio, as you guys know, founder of Next Level Consultants, and we are in the midst of Kids Week. We do Shark Week. This is Kids Week. I'm super excited about the guest we have today because very rarely do we have an opportunity to talk to someone that's been through the startup journey. Is a pediatric dentist. His name's Dr. Jarod Johnson. He's the owner of Arctic Dental, a professor at Iowa University. I met him at the ABPD while I was there this year in Toronto. And I'm super excited to interview you, Doc. But before we get into you and your story and your journey, I do want to do a shout out to the sponsor of Kid Week, which is, as you guys already know, it's SuperMouth. It's a fantastic system to incorporate into any dental office. I'm a big fan of SuperMouth. You guys know, and you've seen it in other episodes. My kids are actually absolutely obsessed with this stuff. And my most favorite thing about the SuperMouth system is that it creates a residual business within your business. Not very often. You guys are always talking about how difficult and how grinding dentistry can be. Well, start creating a residual business within your business so that you don't have to work so hard for your revenue. And forget the business side of it. The kids love it. They're brushing. They're obsessed with brushing. If I tell them, oh, don't worry about it, just go to bed, it's late, they're like, no, the superheroes are telling me that I'm going to get the bugs. So I just really endorse it, which is why they're the sponsor of this particular week. So check it out. Real quick, another special announcement. If you guys have been following, we are going to merge and rebrand our podcast into one brand. It's going to be called Dental Unscripted soon. So today it's Startup Unscripted. If you guys are going down or thinking about going down the startup path, we also have Dental Acquisition Unscripted. Of course, that's buying a practice and all about buying. It started getting a little crazy, guys, managing 2 podcasts, 2 things, 2 YouTube channels, all of the things. So we're just going to bring it all into one hub called Dental Unscripted. And the other cool thing is I've helped a lot of you guys get into ownership. And now you're looking for practice management tips. And so you're going to get a lot of those. I'm going to be splashing in the 8 to 10 coaches that Next Level has to start giving you guys tips on AR and team management and culture and leadership and billing and all the things. And so that's going to be a really good resource for you guys. So Dental Unscripted, go subscribe to it now. We're going to get that set up. But anyways, without further ado, sorry, Doc, I had to get all that out. You have a podcast, so you understand. Welcome to the show, Dr. Jarod Johnson.
Yeah, Michael, thanks for having me. And just piggybacking on what you're talking about, the residual business within inside of your business, I kind of felt guilty selling toothpaste, but I don't anymore. It's a benefit for your patient. When I looked at the facts, if you're going to write a prescription, less than half of your patients are going to pick that up, where they can go ahead and take the toothpaste that you already have at your office. They take it home. And if you've got a program where they're excited about it,
dude,
I mean, it just makes sense. I don't feel guilty, and it's a benefit to the patient. If they're going to use it and have fewer cavities, that's a win for them, a win for you, and a win for everyone on your team.
It's definitely a win. And the SuperMouth system, they have non-fluoride and fluoride. They got all kinds of options. So whatever your patient base is, they're going to have a product that fits. And so SuperMouth did not pay Dr. Johnson to say that. So that's, that's great. It just makes sense. I don't bring people on if I don't feel like it makes sense. And so that's a great program. But Doc, tell me a little bit about you, my friend. Like, so I already kind of gave everybody the heads up here. You know, you've been in the game for a minute, 9 years in dentistry. You did a startup. And we're going to get into all of that, but just kind of give me your background. Let's get to know Dr. Johnson real quick.
Yeah, so I'm a pediatric dentist. I went out to University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I had a great experience out there, and during my first year is when I decided I wanted to do a startup. And my family's from Iowa, and we knew we wanted to come back to Iowa. And when you're looking for a place to go, it's about location. And I personally, I didn't want to be where everyone's going now. I didn't want to be in the big city and have to compete with everyone. So we looked at communities that had a need in the state of Iowa, and we located 4. And one of them happened to be pretty close to where my wife and my family are from. And so we decided to pick Muscatine, Iowa. It's about 40 minutes from where we're from. And we started looking for buildings, and we were off from there. So I was planning in my first year residency, planning layouts and build outs and financing and
All the things.
I think my camera's having problems here.
You're okay. We can still hear
Okay.
you great though. So it records separate. So we're good. Let's just keep rolling with it. So one thing that you just said I'd love to dig into, Dr. Johnson, and that is how you picked your location. But big picture, guys, why you might want to consider listening to Dr. Johnson. He is now at a place where he's got over 4,000 patients. He's trying to figure out how to cut down on insurance. So he's in a really good place. He's going to share his woes, I'm sure, but he did this, and you guys can do it too. And so let's get into some of that if you don't mind. So Doc, when you chose your location, just because you said it, you just keyed in on something that I really appreciate and liked, and that is you reverse engineered where the need for dentistry was. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you look at where all the grads are going, the pediatric grads now, they're all going to the biggest city in Iowa, and it's like you're gonna be fine, but you're gonna be fighting for those new patients.
For
And
everything. Yeah.
I think there's also something to be said about giving back to the community. And then also, in a smaller community, you're going to have more opportunity if you're interested to serve on boards and be a part of other things that can really bring a well-rounded and balanced life to you. With the location, I actually was in Las Vegas when we were trying to find it. So I ended up hiring a company that worked with build outs for dental to actually go in, and they didn't know it was a dentist that was coming in to negotiate the price of the building with them. But we were able to look at a few different sites, and we found one. I was very lucky. I got one right next to a supermarket. So great visibility from an aspect of marketing. My first few years, I just had a tin sign on the wall before we put the big one out there.
Pediatric dentist. That's it, right? Or
yeah,
dentist.
I took the sign off the building that was there from the previous owner and painted it and had a local company put my logo on it, and that was about it for a while.
What you just said was interesting because a lot of my clients, they want to be where everybody else is. And so what you just said is exactly what I try to get my clients to think about. And that's really just reverse engineering. Where's the need in an area, and be willing to go there, and you're going to have a fantastic lifestyle, a fantastic business.
And I think if you look at perspective, where do you spend most of your time? You spend it at work, and then probably during the week, you're probably at home most of the time. You're not out doing all these things that you want to be doing on the weekend, and you still have that opportunity if you're close enough to travel and be there on the weekend if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, it 1000%. And I think the key is are you willing to live pretty much anywhere, or maybe more in a rural area? And I think it has just some major benefits. And by the way, when we say rural, it doesn't mean like in the middle of nowhere where there's like nothing to do. like there's a lot of like what I would call fringe markets, or areas where they're emerging, and that might be like 20, 30, 40 minutes even into the major cities, and you can kind of have both. So if you're willing to kind of stretch those limits, that's awesome. Let's pivot though, Doc. Let's pivot because I want to get back before we kind of get into the mechanics of the startup itself. That's what this whole program's about. I really want to tap into you and like how you felt and all the things that you went through, and then now kind of where you're at. So like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You have a successful business. You're kicking butt, but let's get back to like some of those challenges. If you can take yourself back at almost a decade now, and let's talk about like some of the things that you thought about after you opened, because startups are hard and scary. And like what are a few things that you can remember that were extremely like just extremely difficult or scary for yourself? Do you remember? Can you take yourself back to that?
Yeah, I think just getting patience. I mean, you're obviously a new. You don't have the reputation that you may have had at a previous job, or maybe you're just coming out of school and you have no reputation, and that can be a challenge coming into a new community to try to build that base, because
Mhm.
a lot of it's word of mouth. People say had they had a good experience with you, and I think that's really picks up. But that's going to take time because you have to build that. So I remember when we first started, my assistants and I were out at the mall and a Walmart putting flyers on the windshields of cars. I mean, we
Love
were
it.
doing everything we could to hustle to try to get the word out that, hey, we're here. Here are the services we offer, and we can really give your child a great experience.
Yeah. So did you find like the grassroots efforts, the ground marketing, as they say, worked the best, or it was a combination of all of it? But like what worked the best for you? I mean, I don't want to make it a marketing episode, but at the same time, I don't feel like my clients give the grassroots and ground marketing efforts enough juice. They really rely on external marketing, and I think you have some ideas and comments about that, but they just don't give it enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's work, right? It's definitely not easy to go out and do, an event and have a booth. I mean, remember when we went to the farmer's market and just had information, and we were putting tattoos on the kids. And lo and behold, we come back and some of our patients, that's where they came. We find that out 8 years later that, oh yeah, we met you at the farmer's market. And it's like, well, I guess it did work. Maybe you don't track it as well, but I think it's super simple. If we go to like a Halloween thing, we take an iPad and sign people up for give away something. You give me your email. Hey, by the way, now we shoot you one a week or two later with
It,
just a promotional, or hey, here we are. You just created a lead there. And I don't know if dentists realize how hard it is to, get those leads, but it's definitely an opportunity for you to give away something nice. Maybe it's a Bluetooth speaker, and just collect their email and follow up with them. It's super simple.
it
Super
is.
simple. And you'd be surprised how many people would be willing to give you their email for a chance to win something.
Yeah, like any tips on like the verbal skills of that, because it sounds like you're the type of guy that just goes and gets it done. A lot of my clients are just like, well, what do I say when someone walks up? Or they almost make it like a little bit too complicated. And to me, that those conversations just come natural. It's like, oh, whatever. What is she, about 6 years old? Well, that's great. Like, what is she into? Like, I just start talking. It comes so natural from a dentist to the audience, dentist to dentist. Like, how do you even start those conversations? And like you said, it sounds like it is easy just to get information from folks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can start with what you're giving away, and you're probably gonna have something kid friendly. I would say probably balloons are one of the biggest hits that you could do for a kid. Kids love balloons. A balloon on a stick with your logo, super simple, super cost effective.
Yeah.
Great way to start the conversation. Temporary tattoos are another hit that we've done. Kids love those. We just had the state fair in Iowa, and all the kids are coming to my office now, and it's like they've got their own sleeve on of tattoos from these businesses
Are
that.
they branded for you?
No, these are from
Oh,
like the fair, but we have Arctic Dental ones that we did too. And
I love
like the
that.
kid doesn't even care what that farm thing is. They just got the tattoo and they love it. It's not even, it's like the idea behind it. So just having like something like that, you can even do something as simple as a sticker, but something to give to the kid to engage that conversation. And I'm guessing if you're a pediatric dentist, you're probably going to be able to have a conversation with the kid, maybe about something they're wearing, their shoes, you can pick up anything on a kid and give them a compliment. And that's a great way. And if you're not comfortable, you can have one of your assistants do it that's comfortable. It doesn't have to be you. And then after you do that conversation, say, oh, hey, by the way, we were giving away this Bluetooth speaker. If you'd like to enter, here, fill out this simple iPad form.
I love that. I love that you're asking, because again, having conversation, being there, being part of the experience is one thing, and it's good for branding. But the key there, there's no surprise. Doctor has over 4,000 patients. The key is asking people, hey, do you have a pediatrician? I'd love to be it. If not, and please sign up and get on our VIP list, because when a lot of these startups are doing a lot of these activities before they even open, and the best case scenario would be you have 100, 200 kids on the list before you've even opened. There's Halloween coming up. There's all kinds of fun things, but so you actually have an iPad and you have people just go for it right there.
Yeah, just set up a Google form. If you wanted to not even have that, you could have a QR code they scan on their form that goes to the Google form. You don't even have to have the iPad anymore. I guess that's just what I've done in the past. Maybe I need to update things a little bit, but it's super simple. Yeah, and it's just to say name, email.
I love it. I think that's great advice. It is simple. It's not overcomplicated, and let's just get out and start shaking hands and quote unquote kissing babies. I think that's great. So clearly that was a big thing for you. Of course, the normal direct mail and pay-per-click and all the things that the marketing companies, we have a whole Shark Week on that. But organic and ground marketing, we're just not talking enough about and doing enough. It's blood, sweat, and tears. Let's take it back even more before something that you said before we even started this episode, and that was that feeling, doctor, of am I gonna make it? What is this supposed to feel like? How busy should I be? I find that a lot of my clients have this expectation of just 10 kids a day right out of the gate. And that's just not how startups work. Did you have a lot of those feelings when you started? Like, oh my gosh, I'm super slow, or we're not going to make it? Kind of think about those first 6 months, because I just think there's a lot of those panic attacks. You usually come from like a really busy office like yours as an associate, and then you do a startup and you're like, whoa, what is going on? Any tips there or thoughts about mindset or grit that you can think about, that you can say or give the audience?
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is now with the banks, but less than 2% of dental practices fail. So you're a pretty good bet for these bankers. When I opened up, I joke with my colleagues that I was a reverse millionaire when I opened my office. I had $400,000 in student debt and about $1 million in practice and building debt.
That sounds right.
And I put no money down.
Yeah, no, that's the same.
No money down. And
that's
the bank
same.
gave me
$1
million. So that is kind of a good thing to have in your back of your mind. You're going to get some working capital. I was lucky. I didn't have to dip into any working capital with my startup. But you're going to start out. You're probably going to be maybe 2 patients a day. I mean, on a good day, maybe 6.
Yeah.
And, I was lean. I was doing the cleanings myself at that time, because we had one assistant that was helping out with the phone and the front desk. And if they had a sibling in, I do a cleaning next to them. We do the treatment on another time off until we started to grow the needs. And it can be scary, but every patient that comes in your office is another opportunity to get that word of mouth going. It's so simple. We don't do it enough. It's just have your assistant, your front desk, after they're done with the appointment. How did things go for you today?
Yeah.
And they rave about it. That's the time to ask for the review. That's the time to ask for, who else do you know that could use our help?
Yeah. No,
if they don't have an answer, well, then just who specifically came to mind that you thought of? We would love to have you reach out. Here's a card. Here's our information. We'd love to have you reach out to have them have the experience that your kid had with us.
That's
super
awesome.
Simple, super, super simple, but too many people are afraid to ask for that. And that is on top of getting the patient, they know so many people. They're
They
involved in the community.
They do. If you make that wow moment and a kid's experience, and parents appreciate that you're really trying to help that kiddo have a good experience, and all the things are clicking and it works. Of course, we always have those those one patients that just everything goes wrong on, but that's not normal, right? And so when you have those incredible experiences, I think you're right. Like parents and moms and dads, they want to almost share and tell other moms and dads. It's like a thing with kids and parents is like, that's all we know how to talk about because we work and take care of our kids. That's all we do all day. And so when you're with friends and family, like that's the best. They're the easiest ones to start talking. Do you have some internal marketing programs that entice or inspire people to refer into your practice?
Yeah, we don't have one going on right now. We have in the past. We would give away Starbucks gift card with a nice thermal insulated mug with our logo on it. That was something that we did for a while. Kind of hard to track, but you got to have a good system down to make sure you're getting people when they do refer the credit that they deserve. But that's one thing that we've done in the past. Right now, we're trying to cut back. We're trying to get to be less busy and more profitable with the fewer patients that we're going to see. So we're not really trying to grow in that sense right now until I can get the schedule back under control where I'm comfortable.
Let's hit that in a second because they're at about that, like you said, that 7 to 10 year mark. Doctors are looking to scale or become more profitable. You're starting to have more options to do that, and you start playing with the puzzle pieces and all of that. But real quick, when was it in your experience? Again, you went rural, you did it right. You waterfalled upwards. You started with an area that needed a pediatric dentist and built it from there. So you probably had a really fast start. A lot of people that go right downtown Seattle, right downtown Denver, they're just going to grind a little bit more. But in your mind, when did things start feeling like, gosh, I'm going to be okay, I'm breaking even? How quickly did you hit that mark?
Yeah, I think probably year 2 was when it finally got to be comfortable. And then, I mean, 4 and 5, I was getting 172 new patients a month.
What?
It was just
demographics matter. If that's not the theme of today's episode, is demographics matter. But you also you did a lot of really good things, so I can't take that away from you. But 175 new patients a month, that's crazy. But you said after about a year, things started really feeling good. Did you keep an associate job before you quit totally, or yeah?
Nope, I went in. And I think what you got to also keep in mind is your recall system is going to hit.
Mm-hmm.
So every 6 months, it's a huge jump up.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind. So it's not like you have that recall built. You're starting from nothing.
Yes, that's right.
So every 6 months, you're going to essentially have double the patients on your schedule.
That's 100.
That's doing a good job. If you got a 90% recall rate,
well, even if you don't, I love that you said 90%. That's our target. But even if you had 75 or 60%, which I would be terribly disappointed in that, but still to that point, in 6 months, you should have double the patients. And then I love that you said that, Doc. I literally just got off the phone with a GP, not a pedo. I'm not supposed to talk about GPs Kids Week, but a GP that was kind of hovering at the 20,000 a month mark in production. He's actually just hit 30. So let's just say he hit 30. He's in month 5. And he's just kind of like bummed a little bit. And rental rates are so expensive in downtown Phoenix where he's at. Again, downtown Phoenix. But I just remind him, like, dude, you're about to hit your 6th month. And then all of a sudden your schedule's going to feel full. And then you're right, Doc. It does it again in the next 6 months. So I love that you said that. You said a year in. So technically that's 2 hygiene cycles. So now you almost kind of have like that triple patient count in a day, give or take, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that mindset will help give you a little more confidence too, that you can look at your schedule and know it's going to essentially, for the first one, double, and then maybe a quarter size that the next time. It's
Yeah.
just, it gives you peace of mind, and they're going to keep coming back if you're doing the right thing.
What was I love this. This is like speed round. Let's just tap into everything. Have you had a coach before? You're saying all the right things. You had a consultant in your career?
Yeah. So we have a consultant right now, and
Awesome. So what do you get out of a consultant? Like you're really hitting all the points that a consultant would say. What have you seen the benefits of that? Or maybe you haven't. Maybe you're working with a terrible consultant. I'm joking. Totally joking.
yeah, so I think you go to school to learn dentistry. You don't go to learn the business stuff. And I think it's nice to have someone helping you to know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And you're a smart person. You may not need the consultant forever. And you may want it just to have someone there to help out with your team, because they can do other things, not just the business side of stuff. They can help with team and relationships. But I think that really helps you build a profitable office where you're not having a ton of money that's not being collected. You're being profitable. You're able to pay the overhead. I mean, you got a practice note, and maybe you have rent. I mean, you gotta pay the bills. So you
There's a
gotta
lot
make
lot
sure
of expenses. There's a lot of
you
expenses.
yeah. If you look at what my office costs to run a month, I mean, most people would drop their jaw if they knew.
Right. Right. And it's all keeping that all in a balance and making sure you get yours. Accountability is a really big thing that I hear. Even if it's just, all the answers, but you just need somebody to hold you accountable. Oftentimes I hear that. So thank you for sharing that. Kind of as we land or pivot to the last kind of segment of this episode, what are some things that you're thinking about today that is going to help you take your practice to another level? I think you mentioned earlier when we were talking that you're going to consider cutting insurance. I think it's really important to note that almost every one of our startups, if not all, start with a full PPO credentialed with all, because you need that volume. Would you agree? Or did you regret that decision? I'm assuming that's what you did.
Yeah, we took everything. I mean, it's like you're at the point. One of my assistants was saying, "Get the bodies in the chair." I mean,
Get them.
get him in the chair, and then once there's so many different types of software out there. We've got practice by the numbers, and you can get into dial down and see what each insurance is paying per month and what percent of write-offs, what your plan analysis mix is. You can have companies, Solutions 101 will come in and analyze all your EOBs. There's just so much data out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at the point here, and we'd have a patient call that has good insurance that has an emergency, and we can't get them in for 3 months.
Mm.
And how is that going to go for you? 4,000 is too much. I'd like to get down to around 2,000. But we got to have room to be able to take care of the people that we have. It's not a service to them if they have to wait 3 months to be able to come and get their toothache fixed. So
That's right.
the analysis we're doing with the practice by numbers really helped. And what we're finding, Michael, is that a lot of right now, it's mainly the Medicaid plans we're getting rid of. A lot of them are going out and becoming self-pay patients, so they're actually
Right.
staying with us.
Because they want to be with you, and you can do that because you have a great relationship, and your experience in customer service is on another level. And so we do find that when offices are really in tune to that customer experience that we're looking for, insurance becomes less of a barrier. So that's awesome. I believe it or not, folks, going all in with the PPOs, building your practice, building it out, filling out, hit your, find those break even points, find that profitability that you want to hit. And then you get to do these analyses that Dr. Johnson's speaking of, where, hey, look, maybe this year doesn't make sense to have these 3 carriers. The next year are these 3 carriers, and so on and so forth. And to some point, you might end up with just a handful, if not a 2 or 3 or none. And you're running the most profitable practice you can. And I always have the conversation, and actually walk me through this with you. I think one of the biggest pitfalls is opening days too soon. What did you start with? I mean, you had some quick success, it sounds like, but 3 days was what most of our clients start at. And then I don't want them to move off of 3 days until they hit some pretty big numbers. What are your thoughts about all that?
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends on your family situation. I was open 5 just because I didn't want to commute and go work at another office somewhere else. I mean, I think that's a great option for you to be profitable and have some sanity if you're coming out of school. But I was lucky my wife had a job that we were able to support where we were at the time. And
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a good idea to make sure that when you take that leap, that you are ready for it.
Mhm.
And you're going to have your days filled, because if you're not working in another office, I mean, that may be $1,000 to $1,500 that you're not guaranteed a day, and you only got one patient on your schedule, and you're paying a team member to be there. Probably not the best move.
That's
To do.
exactly it, right? That's exactly it right there is the team member. Once you give a team member 4 or 5 days, you kind of can't retract that back to 3. So you got to be ready to doctor's point. Again, it sounds like you had quick success and had a lot of patients fairly quickly. You can do that with that volume, and you had a support partner. I talk to a lot of doctors, and they hear things like this podcast or another podcast or something they read, and be careful about following Dr. Johnson's path or following somebody on Facebook or whatever. Everybody has a different situation, a unique situation. If you're the breadwinner, you got to be a lot more calculated. If you've got someone to share the load, you can take a little bit more risks, but every single person has a different situation. Well, anything else to add as it relates to startups or kind of like your journey? Anything you'd like to share to the audience that you feel like would be pertinent? I mean, our audience mainly think doctors thinking about taking the ownership leap, whether it's startup or acquisition. Any tidbits? I mean, you talking to yourself 9 years ago, what would you say? Any last tips?
I would just say that you need to be open to doing every single job and learning every single responsibility at your office. Nothing's below you. Once you master it and learn the system, then delegate it. But you should know how to do every single thing at your office, because there's going to be a time where a team member is going to be gone and there's going to be a breakdown in the system, and you're going to have to step in and do that. And having done it before for a little bit is great, but definitely learn it. But then don't be afraid to delegate it. I think I kind of hung on to too many things too long, and delegating things to your team will make it a little bit easier for you to go on and look at the other stuff. I mean, when I was starting out, I wasn't looking at this practice by numbers, right? We're on the other end now. So now I'm learning that.
Yeah. Did you find that you were a better manager, or you were able to monitor the activities better by knowing each of those functions that you just mentioned? I mean, for example, front office duties. Did you immerse yourself in the front office, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, I was entering the EOBs, entering the write-offs, the adjustments, figuring out the numbers when things didn't come back and look right. I mean, that's a great skill to be able to know. I mean, if someone's writing off something they shouldn't be, I mean, you're going to get EOBs back, and you may have signed up for a lease to network, and you got to know if that is an actual write-off for the patient or if it's not. And if the lease network's not on there, that's not an adjustment that you're going to write off at the office. That's going to be billed to the patient.
Yeah.
So knowing those things, that might be a small nuance, but think of if you've got a lot of patients on that plan, you're out of network, and all of a sudden some Susie at the front desk is writing off all of the adjustments. You got to be careful. So knowing that and how to monitor that, it makes you smarter. You look better with your team. You can make sure things are being done right, and have accountability at your office.
I bet with that great tip, I bet when someone isn't doing something appropriately, you're not afraid to let them go in any position. Is that a true story?
Yeah, we've only had to let one person go, and I think it helps you be a coach to them and help them improve, and point that out and do it in a constructive manner where you can have your team members not feel belittled. My team knows I don't yell at them. We work together, and if something's not done right, we correct it and do it in a way that's compassionate for them and explain why things are done in a certain way so that we can all be successful.
I love it. I think a lot of docs, they don't learn all the aspects. And so then therefore they feel, held to that person, even though they might not be performing to standard, but they don't know better. So they feel kind of hostage in some situations. So learning each one of those duties and actually doing some of that insurance stuff does pay dividends. So great tip. Duck, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I had a little technical difficulties this morning, but we got through it. And I thought it was an excellent content. Doc, if you're willing to, we'll put some contact information below in case someone has any questions, if you want to mentor somebody, my audience, whatever. But if you're willing, we'll do that down in the description. But other than that, thank you for investing your time and giving back to the community that you're a part of. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm thankful that you invited me, and I hope your listeners enjoyed today.
It was great, man. It was great. All right. Thanks. And have a great rest of your year. Okay.